Welcome to the Soul and Soma Talk podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Thompson. This episode, we're going to explore how to know you're on the right path, even when it feels hard. And a lot of us want to know this exact question. I think it's a really good question today to talk about. A lot of people, am I on the right path? Am I heading in the right direction? And most people think that if we're on the right path and we're making the right choices for ourselves, it should be easy. It should feel calm. I should feel certain. It should be really clear. But what if I told you that the right path can actually feel uncomfortable, confronting, and even a little bit scary, or a lot scary, and still be exactly where you're meant to be? Because when something is truly right for you, it doesn't just feel good, but it grows us. And I was reading something the other day and I wanted to share it with you. I'm just going to read it because it just really put things into perspective for me as well. And I thought it may help you if you're on this episode because you're wanting to know if you're on the right path. So when something is right, it gives you as much energy as it takes. It inspires you, but it also challenges you. It flows, but it still asks something of you. And it helps you become more of who you are, not less. And I think this is where a lot of us can feel uneasy about it, because when we're going through moments in our life, hard times, difficult times, we can always think, oh, we're doing it wrong, or that we've made the wrong choice. But sometimes hard is exactly where we're meant to be. So the right path isn't always the easiest path, right? Which, to me, when I was working through this with my own mentor and therapist, I was really questioning it because I don't understand. You know the saying, if you know, you know. And I feel like with life decisions, whether they're small or big or just our own life path, if we're taught that if feel it in your body and if it feels right, go for it. And you just know, you know the right time. And I don't know about you, but most of my life hasn't planned out the way I thought it would. And when I've had to make big leaps, big decisions, or be brave, none of it has ever felt good. Yeah. So I want to normalize that through, now I can look back on my life, and I'm going to share a few moments with you that I was like, oh, right. Okay. So that happened for that to happen. And then that happened so I could meet that person. And then I met that person. So then that opened me up to that. And then I went into that part of my life. And then that part of my life went here. So I can look back and I can see the synchronicities, and I can see I became the person I am today because of these. But in the moment, I can tell you what, half the time I'd always be like, I just want people to tell me what to do. Or how do I know if I'm doing the right thing? And now from a different perspective, and from what I know of being a therapist and working with people every day, is there's a meaning behind everything. There's a purpose to everything. And if we look at it from a lens of what is this trying to teach me, but also just knowing just that if the only thing you take away from this episode today is the right path is sometimes not the easiest one, it may just open a few things up for you. So let me just explain that a little bit more about what I mean by the right path is not the easiest path. The right relationship is still going to trigger you. The right job will still stretch you. The right healing journey or modality or therapy that you choose is still going to feel uncomfortable. But I want you to hear the difference. So the wrong path drains you, but the right path develops you. And this is what I see working with people, that they come in thinking that something's wrong with them because it's hard or life is hard. But actually, it's the first time they're doing something that's aligned for themselves, to learn about themselves. So I'm sure you're listening to this going, okay, Barbara, I've clicked on this because I want to know signs that we're on the right path. So let me give you a few. Let me give you a few signs to know if you're on the right path. So if you feel challenged right now, but you're not constantly defeated, you feel scared, but also there's like a natural pull forward. You're growing into someone new, even if it feels unfamiliar. That one I can resonate with a lot. Things start to align in ways that you just didn't force. They just happen. Everything just kind of locks into place. And you can look back and realize that had to happen to get me here. So that last one was what I was just talking about before with my own life. Because sometimes the right path feels uncomfortable. There's another thing too. Sometimes the right path feels uncomfortable not because it's wrong, but because our nervous system isn't ready or isn't prepared yet to fully use it to its best advantage. So what I mean by that is healthy love feels unsafe if you're used to chaos and toxic relationships. Peace in your life can feel boring if you're used to feeling anxious all the time. Being seen can feel really scary if you've spent your whole life hiding. So in this instance, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean your path is wrong. It means that it's new. And you can feel like it's wrong. Okay, so if we talked about the right things, let's talk about the not right things. So how do you know if the path isn't for you? Because, let's be real for a moment. Not everything that's hard is right for you. So I know it probably sounds like I'm contradicting myself here, but some things are heavy and draining and misaligned. So the wrong path may feel like something like this. It may feel like constant exhaustion with no growth. It may feel like you're shrinking yourself and bending around people to make things work. It may feel like you're overthinking and chasing things or forcing things. And one that's really important too is when you lose yourself instead of finding yourself, like you give yourself over to people, you're like a doormat, or you just don't know who you are, or you just don't know what you want, and you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just make sure everyone around me is happy, and that's all good. So it's when we lose ourselves. So the right path might challenge us, but it will never ask us to ignore how we feel or abandon ourselves. So if I look at my own life, some of the boldest moves I've made have felt terrifying at the time, but I've just done them. And they were the exact moments that shaped me. And it's interesting because the right path doesn't get easier. I feel like it gets a little bit harder. Like the right path doesn't remove fear, it gives it meaning. But I feel like in my own life, the boldest moves, when I was younger, oh my gosh, it was so much easier for me just to go forward. And I didn't second guess anything. If it felt good, I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And what's the worst that can happen? Doesn't work out. And over time, I learned other people's thoughts and opinions. I would take that on. But it kind of started, I just wrote down a few things of what I wanted to share today. And I was like, what were some of the bold moves for me that I made? And Tully wants to add. Tully, I'm recording a podcast. So she wants to say hello. So hello, everyone. If you don't know who Tully is my therapy dog that helps me with clients. And she's decided in the middle of this podcast recording to play a game. So... okay, now she's distracted me. Okay, so going back to me sharing what bold moves I've made and that they didn't feel right at the time. I think one of the bold moves that I made, I know there were more when I was younger. I think as a kid, when some of the bold moves I made, it started, I'm definitely sure before primary school, but primary school, I would always go up to kids in the playground if they were alone or they didn't have anyone, and I would talk to everyone and make sure everyone was okay. And I think, when you're a kid, you have all your friends, but I'd always talk to everyone and make sure everyone was okay. And I think that was a really bold move from a young kid, just to go and talk to anyone and everyone at school and make sure everyone was okay. So that was kind of I know that there's earlier memories in that. And one of the other moves was when I was around 14, I lived in Tahiti. I did a student exchange, and it was around Christmas and New Year's, and it was my first time away from my family, being 14, being away from Christmas and New Year's from my mum and dad, and I actually got a host family who could speak no English. My host sister could speak a little bit, enough, but when you're 14 and you're learning French, for me, at that time, I could say hi and bye and count to 10, and that was kind of it. So the bold move for me was living in a country for, I think it was about, the exchange I think was about 6 weeks. So it was long enough for that age to be totally out of my comfort zone. And through that, I changed high schools and at a really awkward age. That was a really bold move. Another bold move was when I decided I was going to just go work at Disney World, because, that's what you do. I was like, oh, that'll be nice to work there. I saw an application and was like, oh, wow, let's just do it. Like, it's just like, oh, just give it a go. Like, definitely my younger self was always like, I would put my hand up for just give it a go. Doesn't matter. It worked out every time. But I just felt I would just always go, yep, I'll do it. Cool. I wouldn't, just give it a go. And I think that was the last time that I had that strong of a feeling. Yep, just give it a go. So I lived in Florida, worked at Disney World. Another one was around that time just before I went to Florida, I was asked to, I used to race cars with my father when I was from the age of about 13. I belonged to a car club with him, and there was a guy that was very well known in the car club, and it was there were words that he was looking. There was a rally in New Zealand called the Targa Rally, and he was looking for a co-driver, and I didn't really think much of it. And he came up to me one time at a car club event and said, "Hey, do you want to be my co-driver?" And I was like, "I've never been I don't know what to do." And he's like, "It's all right, it's easy. I'll teach you. Be a good experience for you." And I was so scared. I was like, I don't know. It's being a co-driver, there's a lot of stuff that you need to do. You have to be switched on, and it's quite number orientated, and I wasn't the best at maths. But that was another bold move. And then from that, at 24, managing the biggest weight loss centre in Australasia. So I worked for Jenny Craig, and that was a bold move, a 24-year-old coming in. And I think I had a staff of about 25, I think, at that centre. That was a bold move for me. It didn't feel right. I hated it. It felt really uncomfortable. And then from that, it moved me on to experiences and opportunities and meeting people through my career. And so that was a bold move. Another bold move was when I left at the time I left my husband. That was, if anyone listening to this has been through divorce or has left a long-term partner, wow, that is a really bold move. You think, am I on the right path? Like, I'm married, and that was the last thing I wanted to do when I got married, was to be divorced, because my parents were. My dad left my mum, and I was like, ugh, I used to be a very black and white thinker. I've grown a lot and changed a lot, which, I'm really proud of myself for. And it's not saying there's anything that's right or wrong if that's how you think, but I put a lot of shame and shade on myself for many, many years, many long, intensive therapy sessions about me and leaving my husband at the time, because it was all based on my values and society values. And the kicker was that I got treated so differently when I left him. It was a very, very tough part of my life, very tough. And then, I just wanted to put a spanner in the works that when I turned 36, I was like, you know what, I'm going to leave my job of 10 years. I'm going to just meet a guy. He's all right. Quite like him. So why not just sell everything I own and uproot my life and take my 2 dogs and move to Australia? And it was a part of Australia I'd never been to before. So as a kid, we'd come to Australia all the time for holidays and for work. later in my career, I was coming to Australia like 2 or 3 times a year. So I had been to Australia a lot, but I hadn't been to the area that I moved to. So it was a bold move. And then the next bold move was starting a business and then moving my career from marketing to being a therapist and starting my own private practice and then starting this podcast. All of that, there's some highlights in there that sound really nice. Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. You lived in Tahiti. Oh, you used to race cars. Cool. You did an international car rally. Cool. I lived in Florida. Yay. Worked for Jenny Craig. Yes. Moved countries. Yes. Left my husband. Like, maybe not leaving the husband, but I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're like, oh gosh, that sounds cool. Gosh, she's done a lot. Well, that sounds, a lot. And it's not to say, oh, look at me, this is what I've done. The reason why, and these are just off the top of my head, there's many more of things that I can think of, like when you think of bold moves in your life. And I want to you listen to this podcast because I'm raw and real and I just say how it is because I can. It's my podcast. And that's what I love. And that's why I love that you're here with me because we're just hanging out. We're like 2 friends just hanging out. And I'm just being so vulnerable and honest and sharing everything, which sometimes if I sit here for a second and think about what I've just told you, I go, oh my gosh. Anyway, so I'm just going to push through that. Again, that's a bold move, right? Me being on here vulnerable, just talking to you as if like, you are my friend and because you are my friend, but I'll tell you what, not too long ago, there's no way I would have wanted to tell anyone anything. And the beauty about me, I think, being vulnerable is it opens up for you to be like, what bold moves have I made? And if you look back on your life right now, those big scary things, how did they turn out for you in the end? Because all of those things I looked at the time, there might have been like a little bit of excitement for some of them, but they were really, really scary moves. And if I hadn't done every single one of those things that I've just shared with you, I wouldn't be on my own podcast talking to you today. I wouldn't own a private practice as a therapist and having my own business and moving to a completely different country and starting my life again. So I definitely through all of these hard things. And I know when I was 14, one of the first things I learned in French was how to ring the operator and ask, can you please put me through to this phone number in New Zealand? And I rang my dad, I kid you not, every day, I think until the last 2 weeks. So I rang him every day, not just crying, bawling my eyes out. I hated it. My host father was a bit creepy. Hated it. And when I say hated it, that's lightly. Hated it. I was in the mountains in Papeete. It was like clay mountains. I couldn't go any. It was horrible when I say it to you. So I rang him every single day, crying, Dad, I want to come home. I want to come home. Want to come home. And he's like, nah, you just stick it out. This is good. This is going to be good for you, Barbara. And I rang him every day. I don't know how he didn't cave, and I think I tried all the things in my tool belt. Daddy, I want to come home. Nah, you're not coming home. Tried to change host families, that couldn't do that either. And then the last week is when I met up with all the other New Zealanders on this exchange, and I had the best time of my life. But that was the last week. The rest of the time was horrific. But when I sit here and say to you, I did a student exchange when I was 14 in Tahiti, most people go, oh, wow, gosh, you're lucky. That sounds real nice. But then when I follow that up with, I rung home every day crying and wanted to come home, that changed you know what I mean? Like, it's not the full story. So anyway, there you go. You know a little bit more about me if you didn't know those things about my life. But I wanted to share those exact moments with you because they've all shaped me and have given my life meaning. And so, okay. So what I want you to do now is that's enough about me. I want you to think about something in your life right now, that feels hard. What is something in your life right now that you're like, oh my God, Barbara, this is hard. This is tough. This is a tough season. Okay. So when you've got that, instead of asking yourself, is this wrong? Am I on the wrong path? Am I making the wrong decision? I want you to ask yourself this. Is this growing me? Is this asking me to step into more of who I am? And is this aligned with the life I actually want? That last one's good. Is this aligned with the life I actually want? Most of us don't even know where we're going. So if you don't know where you're going, how do you know how to get there? Because you're probably a lot more on the right path than what you think that you are. So I want to share kind of a few quotes with you because I really like these. And if you need to pause and write them down or put them in your phone, I think these are really cool. So the first one that resonates is the right path stretches you and it doesn't shrink you. Alignment will challenge you, but misalignment will drain you. Just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. We've talked about that. And growth feels scary. Growth is scary. Growth sucks. And misalignment feels heavy. And we need to learn the difference between when we're growing and when something's right for us and when something isn't right for us. So even when it's right, it won't always be easy, but it actually makes sense eventually. And one day you'll look back and you'll be like, oh, yeah. So I can look back on every single thing in my life since I was a baby, since I was born to now, and go, none of this was random. Nothing was random. It's pretty cool. And it was leading me where I am to where I am this whole time. So I want you to stop waiting for it to feel easy because it's not going to feel easy. And I want you to start paying attention to what feels true to you. And if you're like, Barbs, I don't know what feels true to me. Well, that's the work I do with my clients every day. I help them understand themselves, trust themselves, and help them find out where they actually want to go and find out what they want rather than what someone else wants. So I see so many people that say to me, oh my God, Barbara, I've got this decision, or I don't know where to go next, or I don't know what I don't know what I want my future to be like. And when I get down to like the nitty gritty and stuff and we're talking about it, most of the time I hear the shoulds, coulds, have to, must. And I'm like, where do these come from? Like they come from what we think we should do, what we have to. Oh my God, what are other people going to think? Oh, I'm going to let other people down. Huh? What? Is it your life or their life? And I think that's hard because it's such a new path. Before we wrap up, I just want you to take a second and check in with yourself. If there's something in your life right now that feels hard, I don't want your first thought to be, oh, this must be wrong. I want you to get curious. Is this growing you or is it draining you? Is this asking you to step into more of yourself or is it asking you to shrink? Because there's a huge difference. And remember, the right path won't always be easy, but it will feel true. And even when it's uncomfortable, there will be something in you that knows that this matters. And we don't need all the answers because you're never going to get all the answers. And you don't need to make it perfect. It doesn't need to make perfect sense right now. And you just need to start trusting yourself a little bit more. Trusting yourself and honoring yourself just a little bit more than you did yesterday. And if you're in that space where you feel stretched and challenged and maybe even a little bit scared, but also like, something is moving and shifting in me, you're probably a lot closer than what you think. So stop, like I said before, stop waiting for it to feel easy and start paying attention to what feels right to you. And that is your path. So thank you for being here with me today. If you want to know a little bit about me and my private practice and what I do, if you head along to Instagram, my private practice is called Self-Care Studio, which is self, SELF _care _studio, or on my website. I'll put all the details in the show notes down the bottom. So come over and say hi. And I thank you for being here today and for just exploring. I want to keep this episode nice and short because I hope that this has just given you one or two things to think about. Because I could go down a rabbit hole with this, but in the beginning when you're like, I just want to know if I'm on the right path or not, I've given you a few pointers in here to journal out or to think about how it feels for you. Because this is probably all new too, so I don't want to give you too much, but it's enough to get started and to know, am I on the right path? And if you want to know, just shoot me a message. I'll help you out. Send me a message. But it's been so nice chatting with you today. And even Tully was involved in the episode today. So big thanks to Tully. And thank you for downloading my episodes. I still can't believe that you all download and listen to this and stay right to the end. And I'm truly so grateful for you hitting download and just listening to our chats together. And if there is anything that you want me to talk about, or you have a question about something you're wondering about, please feel free to send me a message, and I'm more than happy to, create an episode around it, because this podcast is for you. And I just want to thank you so much for being here with me today. And I really look forward to chatting with you in the next episode.